Hello. Something to reflect on today is this word attachment, and what does it mean? Is it bad? Is it always bad? And, with Buddhists practicing non-attachment, there's a very big difference between non-attachment and detachment. Being detached is absolutely no care whatsoever, and that's not Buddhist. Buddhists are not detached from the world. In fact, Buddhists have such a beautiful love for all creatures. This great compassion that we're trying to foster within ourselves encompasses every creature with consciousness, even bugs. And so I tell people that when I took my vow as a Buddhist, I didn't make my vow to Buddha. I didn't do it as some kind of allegiance to some higher being. I did it for the spiders that I used to be afraid of. I made a promise to not kill them. I made a promise that life is precious in all of its manifestations, in all of its forms. And so there was a time in 2005 when I was in Arizona, and I still had, I had my mother's arachnophobia. And, it didn't matter how big or how small it was. Ew, it just scared me. And so I wanted to force myself to touch a tarantula. Since they were there everywhere, I've seen videos of people handling them. I thought, if they can do it, why can't I? I have to overcome this. And so I forced myself. Two friends in Arizona helped me. One guy, Barry, was letting a tarantula off his hand and onto the ground. He had taken it from this yurt we were all in, and they kind of snuck it past me, and I ran out to see, and I watched it crawling off of his hand, and every fear chemical went through my body, and I felt it. And when I finally forced myself to calm down and reach down and touch the back of this spider, I felt all of those chemicals release. And suddenly this scary thing became like a soft little mammal. It seemed to stop as if it knew that its purpose was to release me. It was just a beautiful moment, and I'll never forget it. After that, every spider I see is transformed. They're no longer scary things. So now I can have compassion for them. And I forced myself to do this. But this attachment is an interesting word, and so is desire. Zen practitioners, when the English language is very robust, and some words can have multiple definitions, like desire. When you say, the desire for enlightenment is desired, you must cut that as well. Big difference between the desire for drugs and alcohol and wanting to help everyone. I have a desire to help everyone reach enlightenment. It's a big difference. And anyone who doesn't think that there is probably needs to study the dictionary a little longer. Just saying. We also have people in this country who think that the word theory, as it's used in science, is the same way as when you say, I have a theory why she keeps going to his house at 8 p.m. every Friday night. It's not the same thing. It really isn't. And so here with attachment, when we're talking about practitioners, for example, who are attached to the Dharma, that's a good thing. But when you're attached to things that do not bring the final result, which is enlightenment, that's not a good attachment. That is where the ego continues to try to self-identify either through a partner or through a job or through possessions or through a location and so on and so forth, or the body or whatever you have. What we're trying to do is free the consciousness from the stickiness, of this ego. And I had this conversation with Archer Rinpoche one time about consciousness. It always seems to want to connect and identify with something. And I said, it sounds like consciousness is peanut butter on the roof of your mouth. It's sticky. And he goes, yeah, consciousness is sticky. It's sticky. And I think of it like that. So, if you are attached to your car, or if you're attached to your job, or if you're attached to your lover, your spouse, you are misidentifying what that thing is that you think that you can grasp onto. Nothing can last. Nothing that you experience with your senses can last. And that means, sad to say, the relationships that we get into, they transform so much that after a short time, the person you think that you're with has changed. And what you're really holding on to is your own mental image of what you think they are or should be. That's not who they are. We are transforming creatures. I mean, things have happened to me in the past 5 years where I could say, I am not the Mark Moss I was 5 years ago. And that's a blessing, because my practice that I'm doing is trying to lessen my attachment to an idea of what I think Mark is. And if I hold on to that idea of what I think Mark is, it prevents me from becoming the Mark I can become, or the Buddha I should one day become. You know, so in the tantric initiation into highest yoga tantra, I get the name Akshobhya Vajra, Mikupe Dorje. I'm Mark Moss right now, and I keep identifying with Mark Moss. That's the problem. What is a Mark Moss? That's a concept. It doesn't exist. I don't exist that way. I'm only what I think I am. And I have to put better things in there. So my attachment to the Mark I'm going to become becomes the impetus for my daily practice. The attachment to the Mark I think I am prevents any growth. It prevents any growth. And yet, change continues to happen. The change as it's happening, if I can ride that wave with the change and embrace the wave of change, then I can transform myself. My practice becomes has fruit. So I often tell people, when you sit down on the cushion to meditate, try to see yourself even a little bit a different person that gets up off the cushion than the one who sat down on it. It's very important. So there's a big difference between attachment or desire in the way where you use them towards, the idea of enlightenment and so on. But, even chasing after enlightenment, if that becomes if you're attached to the quest for enlightenment, or if you're attached to the quest for bodhicitta for self-gain, the Dharma will spit you out. It will spit you right back out. Having an attachment to help others, having that strong desire, that wish that all beings be freed from samsara is a beautiful, beautiful thing. And just because that word can be used and applied to more negative mental states, less constructive behaviors, doesn't mean the word is unusable in a positive way. Okay? That's something to think about. And I really, really think that when you look at the terms that we're translating into English from the Tibetan, we need to look at the definition and how that definition has been developed for that word. Because I'll promise you, the monastics have nitpicked the crap out of everything. And if they wanted to make a difference between lust and want, they've got words for it. And we in English, I love my mother. I love French fries. I love basketball. I love pizza. I'm using the same word, love. I love my mother and I love pizza. There's a failing in the English language. Love is a wish that others have happiness. My pizza can't be happy. But I can, particularly if it's my favorite kind. So this is something to reflect on. And I really, really think you'll see the benefit of attaching yourself and committing yourself to higher ideals and transformation. So reflect on that for a while.